Hey everyone, we're Chris and Sandy with the Chris Benton Show. We get up close and personal with some amazing guests throughout the entertainment industry. And today, like I said on every episode, we got a great one for you. Who do we have?
Today, we're excited to chat with the multi-talented Hannah Fletcher, host, producer, actress, and content creator. From captivating audiences on screen to creating standout projects behind the scenes, Hannah is a true force in entertainment.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Well, gee, thank you for having me. That was very kind. I like that intro. I appreciate that.
That was made by ChatGPT.
It was. We use the tools we have. Yes.
I love that. I love ChatGPT. It's very helpful if you ever just need an idea. ChatGPT.
Yeah, we use it quite a bit. Probably more than I should.
Helps with homeschooling. I homeschool our 7th grader and kindergartner. I use it quite a bit there. So
there you go. Hey, yeah, absolutely. I love it.
So we're going to ask about your upcoming show, the Hannah Fletcher Show. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So I have a talk show coming out. It's coming this year. It's coming soon. And I'm very excited about this project. I have the Hannah Fletcher Show that is the final stage that it is in, and I'm confident that it's just going to go from there. But basically, this project is extremely near and dear to my heart. It's something that I've been working on since 2019. I've fleshed out so many different versions of what this show ultimately has ended up looking like. And it's been a journey, but it initially started as a podcast and me just interviewing friends and celebrities, anybody that I could really get in contact with. And I am a self-made journalist, basically. I have a journalism background in terms of the fact that I've always done that. I mean, even in middle school and high school, but I did go to college for acting. And then I realized during the pandemic that I love acting very much, but I'm passionate about starting something that really showcases who I am and my abilities aside from acting. And then fast forward, and this is where we're at. It's been a wonderful journey to get here. It's been very, very challenging, but very rewarding. And I'm very excited to be sitting here today talking about this.
Awesome.
So did COVID, when all that happened in 2020, did it influence all this in a way?
Yes, I would definitely say so. It was a reflective period for everybody, but definitely for myself, for sure. I realized I was like, okay, LA is wonderful. It's very large. And what else am I passionate about? Because I believe to make it in this business, you have to be passionate about multiple things, or you can allow yourself to be.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like us. We had no idea about what was about to happen. We launched the show January of 2020. And then all of a sudden COVID happens in March, and we were mainly a country music interview show. Podcast. And so when that happened, I was like, okay, I'm reaching out to anybody and everybody from celebrities and on. And we just built from there with 600 interviews in the 3 years.
It's amazing. 600 interviews is so much. Congratulations to you guys on that. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we were doing some 2 in a day, and it was it got hectic at the time.
Yes.
Our buddy Joe's on.
Oh, hi, Joe.
Oh, this is so neat. Hi, Joe. I love this. This is so neat.
One thing I like about StreamYard, when you're live, people can chime in and all that. Yeah. Now, granted, if a bunch of people are on, then it's tough because you have to be talking, scroll through, and you should know all that with you being a podcaster and all that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, it's fun to be able to interact with your audience like that, but it's very rewarding when they tune in and when they want to sound out and let you guys know that they're there. I love it. It's so sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've entered over 100 people on the red carpet or what?
It's been a combination of everything. I'd say well over 100 in terms of solely red carpets for sure, just because of how many people walk those red carpets, but also just in general as well, over the source of my podcast taking different forms, ultimately turning into the talk show. And then, it's just been my way of really working my chops and being able to really understand the whole process really of conducting an interview, not only doing the research on the person, but also making that connection and, really fostering a connection with the publicist, with the talent, everything like that. My goal is always to turn around and want for the person that I've interviewed to want to come back and talk to me again. And if that's the case, then I consider it a win. I'm not about clickbait or headlines. I'm totally about the idea of that connection.
What's
Yeah.
funny is I remember when we first started, I hated PR companies. I was like, why do I have to go through people? Why can't I just do that? I didn't understand the process. But
Mhm.
now that I've learned to deal, I've got some PR companies that love us and we love them. And it's like, I can't imagine now. It's almost like if you don't have a PR company, I question if I want you on the show because
Yes.
they're better
They're
prepared.
prepared. Yeah, they're well prepared. The ones that come from
And they
big
said,
companies,
and if the PR people like you, they send more people.
yeah.
Yes.
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 Always a
That's the
benefit.
trick.
Yeah.
So Joe said,
That is
never done red carpet interviews yet, just virtual and in
Yeah.
person.
That is so funny. Oh my God, love in person so much. That's so cute. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, so let's go back a little bit in your life. When did it click for you that the entertainment world could become your career?
That's a good question. So ever since I was very little, when I was 3, I'm an only child as well. I will start by saying that. And I'm grateful to be an only child because it allowed me for, I think, being able to have opportunities, but also really taking those opportunities in full-fledged force for sure, because of my parents and how close they were with me when I was growing up. And even still to today, I'm extremely close with them. But honestly, ever since I was 3, I started dance, and then I started ballet, and
Oh, wow.
it eventually grew to
Wow.
tap and jazz and everything. And then I, at 5, ended up starting into the realm of acting. And it was kind
Oh,
of this
wow.
unspoken idea that, you know, I was just never going to really pursue anything other than the arts. It came organically.
Yeah.
It just made sense. And it was just so fun. And then I ended up pursuing my BFA in acting in college. My parents have been very supportive in the whole journey. And, you know, I'm about to be 28 in a few months, and they're still just my biggest cheerleaders. It's amazing. I'm very grateful.
And that's good that you got parents like that, because we've met a lot of people where they've had to kind of go out on their own because their parents did not. They want you, they wanted you to become a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever, or even be part of their business or whatever. But they, they didn't want to have nothing to do with being an actor, a singer, or any of that. So it's great that you had that backing.
Definitely. I know I know so many people that don't have that parental support, or, you know, maybe the parents support to a certain degree, but then they're like, okay, but at a point, you know, like get realistic. And then that's honestly, you know, if it weren't for my parents being supportive, I don't believe that I'd be in the position that I am in today. I mean, their support has been extremely instrumental in my journey. And without them, I mean, again, I don't think I would ever be able to be in this position. And that's why every time I do have the opportunity to speak about them, I always give it to my parents, because they're the whole reason that I'm where I am, but also who I am. So,
you talk about being real, people saying being realistic. I'll never forget a quote that Will Smith, I mean, probably not a good person to quote right now, but still a great quote. But I remember him saying that the pathway to mediocrity is safeness and all that, being realistic. And I've never forgot that about being realistic, and it's so true, and all that. Oh, and then Joe just said,
oh, that's funny.
I have a daughter that's 27. There you go.
What's funny is I'm 53, and we've got a 13-year-old, which you'll hear from later.
Yes,
and also almost 6-year-old little daughter. So so we've started a little later.
Yes. They'll keep us young.
I love that, though. I think that that's important. I personally am on track. I think that children will come much later in my life, and I'm excited for that, because I think that it'll be a different perspective. I'm Southern, so if I have a kid anywhere not like at 30, it's like, oh, what are you doing? And I'm like, so far, not happening. So I have a cat. He's fine. He works for now. It's huge.
So what's a lesson you've learned from a failure?
Oh, that's a good question. That I've never been asked that before. Honestly, I would say, in terms of that, just the idea of not letting something or someone get to you. I've had jobs in the past that I can think of off the top of my head that have been very challenging, and the people that I've worked with, maybe were a little bit more challenging than I signed up for or expected. But I think the idea of really just not letting somebody get to you, or letting an event bring you down, really just I've been really studying the Mel Robbins "Let Them" theory.
Oh.
That's like one of my favorite things. If you haven't seen that, a clip of Mel Robbins talking about it, or if you don't know what it is, I highly recommend checking it out.
Okay.
But this idea of like, you know, if somebody's judging you, if somebody's leaving negative comments, if somebody's doing anything, just let them, you know, that's on them at the end of the day. So,
That's their character.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say the idea just of the let them theory, but also combined with the idea that, you know, if you do fail, it's not necessarily your fault. It doesn't mean anything negatively of you. If you don't fail, you don't grow. Or if you don't have something stop you down for a minute, you're not going to grow. And I love growing, especially at this point in my life. It's very, very important for me to continue to grow as a person.
So what's an interview that surprised you?
An interview that surprised me, I would have to say I recently, within the past few months, I interviewed Natasha Lyonne, and everything about that interview was just a surprise. I remember that we were on a red carpet, and I was waiting for her to walk down. And at the end of red carpet events, you know, a lot of publicists, you'll get this like one question, wrap it up. I didn't honestly even think we were going to get her. And then we did. And then she was so funny and she was chill and she like put her hand on me and we were like, we were talking like two friends in the hallway at school. I was like, Natasha, what is up? I felt like we were going to go to dinner after. She was just a wonderful person. But that's one that surprised me because I just didn't expect the interaction to even take place, much less the authentic nature that I experienced from her when it did take place was great.
Joe asked, or Joe said, having a short-term memory is key.
It's true. Love Natasha, man. There's a name I have. She is amazing. Oh my gosh. She's so fun.
That's awesome. So what was your favorite? I mean, I know you got probably many faves, but is there any interview that stands out?
I always say two interviews that stand out, and I will until like I have a reason not to. I love these two people very much. Larry the Cable Guy stood out to me, and Bert Kreischer stood out to me. Those two men, they were a hoot. Larry stood out because he I don't know, you guys know what it's like when you're interviewing. If somebody says your name or if somebody compliments what you're doing, it's like that's the best compliment that you can get as an interviewer, right? So Larry picked up his Mater truck. It was promo for a series of cars that got picked up by Disney, and he was making his little Mater car in the camera. He was like, "Hi, Hannah," and I was like, "I'm done." I'm like, I just loved it. So that really stood out to me. And then Bert Kreischer was just great because I love his comedy. I think he's so funny. And I was covering an event where he had the premiere for his movie, The Machine. And it was a very unique carpet. It was very unconventional. It was set up like a carnival. And it was just so much fun to be there. And then I don't know, it was one of those two, yes, it's his event, but I was a little apprehensive that I wasn't going to get to be able to speak with him. And it was like talking to an uncle or a dad. He was just so chill, so nice, so grateful. The gratitude that he had was amazing. I love to see somebody in that position exhibiting that immense gratitude like that. It was incredible to be able to talk to him.
Yeah, speaking of hearing your name, and I remember when we interviewed John Tesh, that was kind of that was.
Oh my gosh, John Tesh!
And he was on, and he said this live, so of course I can say what he said because it was during the interview. But he said, I don't do many interviews. He says, he said, do you know why I chose to say yes to y'all? It's like, no, why? No, and he says, because y'all have got a great reputation within the entertainment world, and I wanted to say yes.
And we were like, Lord, we were like, wow, coming from John Tesh.
And then she has one where we interviewed Brian Luttrell from the Backstreet Boys.
That's definitely a standout one.
I love
because I was always a huge fan when I was younger of Backstreet Boys and all that, and hearing Brian Luttrell say our names, that was crazy.
Because he even commented, because we try to write songs together too and all that, and apparently he looked us up a little bit, and he actually said, "I see y'all write songs,"
and I was like, "Oh, Brian Luttrell knows us."
That is so cute.
It was surreal. Yeah.
I love that. I love that he did his research into you all as well, because again, that's another big compliment. People don't understand the little nuances like that. Well, that's why we do what we do, right? That's
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And Joe, they said his favorite is with Andy Dick.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. Look at that.
Awesome.
See, that's also a really big compliment too. I can confirm that John Tesh doesn't do many interviews. Oh no.
So you know, a lot of people, they see the glory in what you and I and everybody and all, but by everybody in the entertainment world does, but they don't see the grind, the sacrifice, the tears, the struggles it takes to make it to any level within entertainment. Most people don't talk about this. On our show, we like to talk about this. I think it's the most important thing to talk about. So tell us a little bit about that side of it that people don't get to see.
Absolutely. You know, one thing that's very hard in this entertainment industry that people don't understand is, for example, if you have, like, I have a degree in acting. I can have a degree in acting and I'm extremely proud of it. But there's a certain threshold that I can't hit in the acting world. I will not get on a Netflix show, for example, unless I have an agent. Right. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, people don't understand that, you know, getting an agent, there's levels to agents. You know, you don't just go get United Talent Agency overnight. You have to kind of work your way up. The idea of even having a publicist, you know, that is something that I've always been interested in. But that is something, you know, you don't want to just go hire a publicist unless you have certain things to promote or a certain agenda that you're looking to try and push in a really a game plan, you know. So there are so many different things that people, you know, I think they immediately assume, and they don't understand all of the stepping stones that have happened in order to be able to get to where you are. And if you're somebody like me, in my case, you know, I moved out to LA, had a few colleagues that lived out here. I moved out in 2019, got hit with the pandemic. And that was very difficult to be able to stay afloat during that and to be able to even remain in LA because of everything that was going on. And then, you know, at follow up after that, we finally get back to normal. Boom, you get the writer's strike. And then now we have the fires. I'm like, hold on. Like, can we have a little bit of a please?
It's like nonstop
questions. Yeah. So, you know, it's a very tricky process being out here. And also it's one of those things you cannot let a no get you down. If you do, you are just not doing yourself a service. You have to continue to believe in yourself, believe in your product, and also like you are a product too. So take care of yourself. That's another thing that I think a lot of people don't understand very much. I'm sure you feel this way with having your name as the title of the show, but it's very surreal when I'm sitting in production meetings now as we're working with the post-production side of things. And I hear people saying, they're like, all right, so the Hannah Fletcher Show. And I'm like, there's like that's a product, but yet it's my name. It's a very interesting duality that exists. And I'm sure you feel the same way to a certain degree as well. It's like definitely. You've taken yourself and now you're a person, but now you're a full-blown product as well. It's a very interesting course mentally to just kind of like try and receive. It's interesting.
Yeah, because I've got another podcaster friend that he does a show, but it's not his name. And because he's growing a little bit, he wish he'd have made it his name now because and I believe he's right, because he feels like it would be more solid at this point with who he's having coming on as guests. And he said it would just make sense. He said I kind of can't change it now, but it would almost make more sense if it was his name.
Yeah, it's an interesting decision for sure. Only 1% to 3% of yeses on interview requests, from my experience. You get so used to that as well. Yes, you know, you send out pitches all day long, and you'll be lucky to see a conversion.
Like in our peak, 2021, maybe beginning of 22 was our peak where we did the most interviews, and I averaged sending out about 300 interviews, 300 emails a month, and I would average booking 3 to 5 out of that.
Jeez, man.
But what I did do a lot of times is each month I would send out probably half of the same email list, and then the next month again and again. So like we had one guest, I won't say who it was, but I think the manager got a little mad at me. He was like, every month, like clockwork, I'm still pitching for this one. And I think he got tired of me. So he's like, look, I can't give you 30 minutes like you're asking. He says, if at the most is 5 to 10 minutes. So I didn't hear 5 minutes. I responded back and said, we can do 10 minutes. and he responds back, and if we get it booked, but again, it was one of them things of where like 7, 8, 9 months in a row that I emailed this for this guest, and finally we got him, and now he's on our roster. So, you know,
Love it.
And I've had a lot of that where I would email and email and email and email. And I know sometimes people get mad at me, but you know what? I'm going to do it until you say yes, or until you say never, ever contact me.
No, it's important. I mean, that's another thing. Persistency and consistency. Those are key. You have to be okay with doing that. And there's an art to it. Like you mentioned, I mean, there's an art of follow up. There's an art of pitching. There's an art too, where, you can, sometimes you'll get blocked, you don't want that, but exactly how you're doing it. I'm the same exact way. I interviewed Spencer Sutherland from my talk show. He's wonderful. He's so incredibly talented. Love Spencer so much. I've been personally a fan of his music for over 5 years now. And it was one of those where it was so close. It was so close so many times getting to interview him, and then something would happen. And then it worked out perfectly. And I believe that was God's divine alignment on that time personally. But it's one of those, it's just like, especially if it's on your heart, it's like, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And that's kind of the mindset that you have to have too. You have to constantly be optimistic. You have to keep yourself in a somewhat optimistic mindset at all times in order to be successful.
Exactly.
It's hard.
Yeah. I remember at the beginning of our show, a few months into it, I was getting frustrated trying to go to that next level. And then after COVID happens and all that, I'll never forget a thing that kind of changed the show a little bit was I got an email from a PR company I've never heard of at this point. I mean, we're friends now, but she said, I got 6 guests I'd like to put on your show. So I'm going through all the guests, and I seen one that said Anna Christina Cash. So I wonder if it's any relation to Johnny Cash. And so I look her up, come to find out she's married to John Carter Cash, which is Johnny and June's son.
Oh, my goodness.
So I was like, yeah, we'll interview all 6. And then but I was smart. I was like, can we do Anna first? Because I was scared. What if they didn't like my way of interviewing? And so and they did it. They gave it first, and then we got to do all 6, but it was still pretty cool. And then that brought Carlene Carter on, which then eventually brought Georgette Jones on, George Jones' daughter, which then brought Jenny Gill on, Vince Gill's daughter. And then all of a sudden that solidified that we had a show.
That's amazing. Also, I'm going to make a recommendation. I've interviewed her, so I'll pass along the info if you would like, but I think you would really enjoy speaking to Asa Orbison, Roy Orbison Jr.'s basically daughter-in-law.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. She was great. Loved her. She was so cool. I feel like that's on theme. I'll give you guys the information. She was wonderful.
That'd be great.
Good.
We look forward to that. So, as you know, everybody sees you, but they don't see the team around you. In our opinion, teams never get any love. But on our show, they get a little love. So take a few moments just to tell us about the team that helps you be who you are.
I love my team. I think they're wonderful. I am so blessed to even be able to sit and even talk about a team, because when you have a dream, and especially when it's kind of like a self-made dream, it's very hard to ever think that it gets to the point where you can take a hat off and give it to someone else and let them wear it. Somebody who's probably more well-versed at wearing that hat than you are. I have an amazing executive producer. His name is Eric Wheelwright. He is at the helm of this entire project. Him and we connected at an Oscar viewing party last year. And I met some of my crew actually at that party as well. Shout out to Apoorva. I love her very, very much. She is amazing. She is also involved in the Hannah Fletcher Show as well. And she wears many different hats, from social media to AD, everything in between. But Eric is wonderful. He is such a great person. Him and I are both aligned in so many different ways. That's why we get along so well. We have a very similar work ethic. We have very similar morals and just beliefs in general. So I think that's why we really align with this project. And it's just been so wonderful being able to work alongside somebody who has directed and worked with Faye Dunaway, Mina Suvari. I mean, he's been in rooms with Michael Jackson. He is close to Kevin Hart's director. It's just, he's an incredible person. And to be able to sit on the phone and speak with this man every day and be able to really articulate my vision and know that it's being heard, and then he's able to take it and convert it in ways and produce these clips and a website, all of these wonderful things that I've never been able to do on my own. It's just amazing. And to know that he believes in me as a person is really huge. And he's assembled this team of people that we work with, and oh my gosh, it's growing. It's beautiful. It's great. And the show really is just about highlighting people in their most positive form, and really we're not out there for clickbait. We are out there for genuine conversations. So it's great.
And that's kind of where we are with the show is, I never try to be the gotcha show. I don't want to be the gotcha show. I want bringing celebrities on so that people can see their authentic self. They can talk, and we can talk about the struggles they went through and the triumphs. That's what I've always wanted to show, to kind of show a different point of view of people that are bigger within out there.
Absolutely. You want to show who they are as people, because that's what they are at the end of the day, Yeah. I love that we're kindred on that. And it's great. We need more people like us. We need more people that are out to just really show who celebrities and influencers are as people.
Speaking of teams, we have a third co-host, our 13-year-old.
Yes.
While Sandy's going to go get him, while we're waiting for him, I know the Hannah Fletcher Show is kind of what's next, but overall, what is next for you?
Next is definitely the show, and continuing to. Right now we're working on a bunch of different ideas for segments for the show. It's a show that's for everybody, but we understand that the target audience is going to end up going probably a little bit younger. And what I'm very passionate about is it's the idea of fleshing out segments and really bringing people on the show that debunk any type of stigma that exists around finances, for example, a FICO score, how important that is, how to actually attain a positive high FICO score, though, too, not just saying your FICO score is important, keep an eye on that. What is it? How is it important?
How do you do
it? Is it important? How can you realistically approach this and do it? What are tips and tricks? It's a lot of really fleshing out different tools for the audience. That's really what's on the next for me. And also, in addition to the show, I would love to be able to hop back in the seat of acting. I have a couple of opportunities that have recently come up that I'm very excited about. So I believe that this year is going to be back on screen and on camera in the acting field of things. And I'm very excited about that. So yes, it's just really just continuing to be in front of the camera and just making a difference as much as I can. That's really what's next.
All right. Hey, Hannah. So what's your favorite food?
My favorite food. Good question. All right, I'll give you like a food place, and then I'll give you my favorite snack food. My favorite go-to snack food, pickles. I love pickles. I've been eating them ever since I could.
You love pickles.
And then my favorite food place, I will say, I'm always in the mood for it, is Chipotle. I'm such a sucker for Chipotle.
That's a good place.
Yeah.
All right, my favorite food is pizza.
Is it pizza? What kind of pizza? Do you like cheese?
Pepperoni, sausage, pineapple, just all kinds.
I love it.
It's pizza.
I love that.
Yeah. All right, I got one more question. So what's the coolest thing that's happened to you on your journey so far?
The coolest thing that's happened to me on my journey, I would honestly say, I think it's meeting my executive producer, Eric Wheelwright. He's awesome, and he's the whole reason why I'm here being able to talk to you guys today and talk all about Chipotle and pizza. So I love him. He's great.
All right, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank
you.
So what's the craziest thing that's happened on an interview?
Oh, that's a really good question. Getting hit on, not on camera. I think that's the craziest thing that's ever happened to me during an interview. It was a Bert Kreischer's event. I can't remember who the gentleman was. It was so funny. And I mean, it's a Bert Kreischer carpet, so everybody had some liquid courage going on. And this gentleman, I believe, did. And he was funny. And my camera guy almost fell down laughing. It was just one of those. He was touching my arm, and he was so much older. I was like, I'll just play into this for the bit. I think getting hit on would have to be the funniest and most unique thing that's ever happened.
That's funny.
I forgot about that.
Back when we were audio only, this probably wouldn't happen video, but when we were audio only, and I never say who because everybody would know exactly who this person is. But in the middle of the interview, we got ghosted. Not ghosted from the interview, ghosted in the middle of the interview.
You're kidding.
No, it was we were in the middle of the interview, and we were using Blog Talk Radio back then, so I could see phone numbers. And all of a sudden, I was like, her phone number. We went to play this one of the person's songs, and it was her phone number went away. I was like, ooh. Uh-oh. And
Oh
what I
my
do,
God.
so I played a couple songs, never come back. I've emailed, texts, all that. Never heard from this person again. And so it gave me a funny story.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, of course. That is awful. I'm so sorry that happened. That to the people watching, that's our worst nightmare that we would think would just never possibly come true. That's crazy.
So
Wait,
Joe
what?
said he had a thing with former pro wrestler was show up completely, oh God, naked for the interview.
Said he didn't realize it was going to be on camera. Listen, okay, I have such a fear. I had an interview yesterday that was over the phone. I was still like camera ready. I could never do that. I don't understand how people do that. I love people. They're so interesting, but why? You know?
And then, okay,
Oh my
so
gosh.
that happened with a former NFL wide receiver, just dropped the middle, found out later.
Oh my gosh, he did an interview. Oh my gosh. I would That's nuts. You've got to be kidding. You can't do that. Oh my goodness. Why
So
are people
who's
so funny?
your dream interview person?
Dream interview person would be, I would love to interview Dick Van Dyke. I think he's amazing. I just think he's such a funny, great guy. I'm also like, I'm a sucker for that old school generation, like those OG Hollywood icons. I would love like Dick Van Dyke. Carol Burnett would be great to be able to speak with. One of my best friends from college is obsessed with Carol Burnett. So I would love to be able to even just speak with her about like her life and everything to that effect. I think that those two would be really great. I'm a sucker for, of course I love like Oprah. I would love to be able to speak to someone like her. I mean, she laid the foundation for the talk show space, women in the talk show space, everybody. You know, I think that she'd be great to be able to talk to as well.
Yeah, it's funny. Joe said that I want Steve Harvey, and I got a Brooke Burke story. We interviewed Brooke Burke, and
Okay.
Joe was commenting in there, and Joe knows that my dream guest is Steve Harvey because of when I start getting down about shows not moving, I go to YouTube and look up his the Steve Harvey Apollo story. If you ain't watched it, go watch it sometime.
Okay.
It's only 15 minutes, but he tells the story about how he got the first time on Apollo. He was basically bankrupt, and he was living out of his car. I mean, it's crazy story that how things just all of a sudden just got him up there, and that just took him off. But but we were interviewing Brooke Burke, and Joe kind of knew that she's connected to Steve Harvey a little bit. So Joe made a comment just like he did here that Chris's dream guest is Steve Harvey. And she read that and she said, "Oh, your dream, you want Steve Harvey on?" And so she pulls out her phone. We're live now. She pulls out her phone and talks to the thing and says, "Hey, Steve, I'm on this show with this great couple. They would love to have you on. I think you should come on." And then she had me say a few words. Then she turns the phone and say, "Now you say a few words." So I did say a few words. And then she pushed it to Instagram and tagged him in it.
That's amazing. I love that. Also, I love the love that you have for Steve Harvey like that too. I think that that's so wonderful. He seems amazing. I've never spoken with him. Actually, my EP has worked with him before. So yeah.
Oh wow, that's
he's wonderful.
I mean, I got him and Blake Shelton will be my two dream guests because we've interviewed a lot of people that were on The Voice, and they all say the same thing, that what you see on camera with Blake when he was on The Voice is the exact same person when the camera's not rolling.
That's impressive.
And I'm like, my God, if he's like how he was on The Voice, if that's really how he normally is, he would be a hoot to interview.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely a hoot.
So where do you want to be in 5 years?
Ooh, in 5 years, I would love to obviously still be going with this talk show and continuing to make leaps and bounds in terms of that. Mm-hmm. And honestly, in 5 years, I just want to reach that point of contentment in my life. I would just love to just feel content and like I'm still being challenged, but also, you know, still honoring myself and still being able to continue on working on projects like the Hannah Fletcher Show and working with people that I've really found in this industry. I've been blessed to be able to find a lot of really great people that stand for really great things and that are just really wonderful people themselves. I know that we always hear horror stories of the entertainment industry. I've not found those types of people. I also think that you attract, though, what it is that you put out. So it is definitely a goal of mine to just find that contentment and continue working in this space, and to continue to work with great people that challenge me, inspire me, and support me. And I can do the same for them.
Joe said he just wants clean.
I want a clean house. Listen, Joe. Yes. How do you keep your house clean, Joe? Here's the thing: if I turn the camera around, no, it's hard. I'm in an apartment, so it's definitely challenging for me to always keep it as.
But there's a reason I use green screen.
Yes, I'm in a corner. I think that the key is like, be clean. I have a lot of stuff in here. I have a lot of stuff, so that's kind of like me being able to like just reorganize. I'll get there, but I'm clean. I'm not a dirty person at all. Yeah.
Oh, what's funny is he's talking about that he just got an email that Kelsey Ballerini's on tour. The reason he's saying that is we actually interviewed Kelsey back before she was Kelsey.
That's amazing. I love Kelsey Ballerini.
And what's funny is February 10th will be the 10th anniversary when we interviewed her.
Really?
Yeah, because
wow.
We did a little brand called New Country Buzz back 2014 and 2015. And I loved the interview, but I hated the after part because you didn't have all this technology. So yes. It wasn't a show. I'd interview them, then I'd type up what we talked about. I hated the transcript. Oh, I hated it. Now, of course, now you have all the AIs and ChatGPT. I could pull the transcript, throw it in there, and I'd have a great article, but didn't have none of that back then. And I hated all that, but we did get to interview her, which was pretty cool.
That is so neat. I'm such a fan of hers. I just think that she's pretty. She's so gifted at singing, and I love her and Chase Stokes together. I hope that they get married. They're so cute.
Yeah. Now, we talked about 5 years. Now let's look down the road and say 20 years. Let's say you are a success on a grand scale, whatever that looks like for you. You feel like you've made it. What do you hope along that journey that you never forget?
I hope that I always remain. I am a very humble person. My mom always reminds me to not be less humble, but she's always like, "You're so humble. Like, feel free to like brag a little." she's such a kind woman, and she's always just reminding me about that. But I really hope that I'm never not humble. And I really hope that I'm always continuing, and I will strive to do this. So I'm confident that I will, but always continuing to give the glory to God and to my parents.
Amen.
Because that's why I'm here. God gave me to my parents, and then they took it from there. And that is what it is. That's my team. Like, yes, I have other teams, but that's the main team, So yeah, I think that would be where I would like to see myself in 20 years, is just continuing to remind myself of that. And, treating also every day that I get to do things like this and be able to talk about projects and speak with wonderful people like yourself and like Sandy and in the industry. I would love to continue to just be able to, always enjoy that, because I'm enjoying it right now very much. And it's a very fun part of my life. And I've worked very hard to get here.
Now, Joe's right about that. He said he finds that celebs that work their way up from the bottom seem to be more humble. Definitely.
I would have to say, in my experience from who I've met and spoken with, I can agree. And then again, just from a personal standpoint, I know my journey and I know my story, and I know that, being humble is the way to go, and it's one of those things. I think that you just are that, you can't, I think you can be humbled, but I think that, I'm grateful that is a personality trait that I possess for sure.
Love that. So as we close out here, what advice would you give someone who wants to do what you do?
I always recommend to start interviewing, and it doesn't have to be high level production quality cameras or mics or anything. It doesn't have to be a famous person either. Some of the most interesting conversations and stories that I've had were with people that people didn't know who they were. So it doesn't matter if you want to interview your parent, your grandparent, your aunt, your uncle, a sister, a brother, sit someone down, have an interview with them, practice, hone your skills, engage your active listening skills, and find find a way to be genuinely interested in something that somebody is saying, even if it may not be a viewpoint that you agree with, or maybe if it's something that, you know, they're saying that you're like, you know, you're like, okay, skip next. Like, let's talk about something else. Make yourself and challenge yourself to be genuinely interested in what people are saying, because people are fascinating and no two people are alike. So that's what I would say.
I love what you said in that answer, because, you know, one thing about this show, I had some beliefs before we started the shows, hardcore beliefs. And going through 600 interviews, a lot of them didn't believe like me, but I never told my beliefs. I let them talk. And because I want to find out why they believe like that and all that. And I have found myself to change my beliefs on some things because of guests I've had. It's really opened me up to be more broad, where I'm like, wow, I never thought of it like that. And I love that.
Yes. That is, I echo that so much. I agree with you 100%. You know, I think that being able to speak to people, and nobody has a linear journey. Nobody has an easy journey in this bit. Even if you're a Nepo baby, you still didn't have it easy. You had to live in the shadow of somebody and then prove yourself. In some cases,
that's true. Some cases more.
You know? Yes, exactly. Make the guest feel comfortable. It's so key. That is 100% the key.
But yeah, I have found that some of the people, like you said, that are the Nepo babies, sometimes there's more pressure on them. Like when we were interviewing Anna Christina Cash, we asked that about John, about the pressure to be Johnny Cash. And she says, oh God, so many people always say he's not Johnny Cash. And she's like, he don't want to be Johnny Cash, you know?
Right.
And they don't get that.
Right. It's got to be tricky.
Yeah. So sometimes I can see it can be harder, but any final words?
Well, I just want to say thank you both, Chris and Sandy, for having me. And I appreciate you all so much. Stay tuned, everybody, for the Hannah Fletcher Show. It is coming out soon. You can follow the show either on Instagram at the Hannah Fletcher Show. You can also follow it on Facebook, same exact username. And then we also have the HannahFletcherShow.tv, and that's where you guys can stay tuned to everything regarding the show. That's the website. And also, if anybody is looking for any LA fire resources, we also have those listed on the website as well, for anybody to be able to access those. Thank you so much. Oh, he said good luck. Thank you. I appreciate it.
We enjoyed having you on the show, and we look forward to seeing where you end up. And you're always welcome to come back anytime.
Absolutely. And I would love to have you guys on my end as well. We'll get it set up for sure.
We can do that. That'd be great.
That'd be awesome. Well, thank you again so much for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.